Hello everyone. Right away, let me clarify that I'm not advocating for the unrestricted return of Baton Pass. Just wanted to get that out of the way. I do, however, want to explore what would happen if Baton Pass returned to competitive Pokemon singles with some restrictions. For those of you that don't know, Baton Pass is a normal type move introduced in Generation 2. It deals no damage, but it switches the user out and passes any stat changes and some other conditions to whatever you switch into. The most important things that Baton Pass can pass are stats. For example, if you use a speed boost Ninjask lead with Substitute and then Protect, you can easily get up to maximum speed plus 6. You can then use Baton Pass, transferring the speed and potentially even the Substitute to any other Pokemon on your team. In the past, many teams have used Baton Pass chains to keep boosting stats among the whole team. Ninjask may pass to an Acid Armor Vaporeon to boost defense, which will then pass to a Calm Mind Celebi, and this continues until the boosts become too much to handle. And thanks to Substitute, not even a critical hit will be enough to bypass the insane bulk that will be accumulated by defense boosting, and all of the attack and special attack boosting considered, this strategy can easily run through your entire team, and it was considered very, very broken in many generations. Due to this, it's banned in almost every generation of Overused, Smogon's most popular tier. Some have tried to restrict Baton Pass without banning it outright. Baton Pass is an important move for many Pokemon, just as a pivoting move without passing stats at all. When Baton Pass is banned outright, these Pokemon are nerfed even though they weren't broken at all. For this reason, a lot of tiers have managed to find a balance with Baton Pass. For example, Generation 3, which we're currently watching as background footage, opted to allow one Baton Passer per team to avoid Baton Pass chains. Most tiers, though, have banned it outright and not worried about trying to restrict it. Generation 6, 7, 8, and 9 OU have banned Baton Pass entirely. Generation 9, Scarlet and Violet OU, is the current metagame, and I want to see what would happen if Baton Pass were partially unbanned. For the sake of this video, the possibility I'm exploring is that if Baton Pass were unbanned, but not allowed when paired with any stat-boosting moves or abilities. Some might argue that Baton Passing stats is alright, as long as that stat isn't speed. This is tried in the past. But thanks to terastallization, I think any stat boosting would be too much and lead to too many unstoppable sweepers. I'm going to go through Pokemon in Scarlet and Violet OU, or SVOU for short, that would be significantly buffed by receiving Baton Pass, and explain what role they might have as a Baton Passer in the OU metagame. I'll be going in order of smallest to biggest winners in the case of a Baton Pass unban, so make sure to stick around till the end. Also, before we get into it, I want to briefly explain the move Wish, since I'll be mentioning it a lot in this video. It's a move that heals the user by 50%, like any other recovery move, but unlike other recovery moves, it heals at the end of the turn after it was used, not the turn it was used. Meaning a Pokemon can use Wish, switch to another Pokemon, and that other Pokemon will receive the healing. It should also be noted that the 50% health restored is based on the HP of the Pokemon that uses Wish, not the Pokemon that's healed. Meaning, Wish from a Pokemon like Alomomola with base 165 HP would heal Iron Moth, which has base 80 HP, by 89% instead of 50%. Now, without further ado, let's talk about which Pokemon would get buffed by Baton Pass. First up is Vaporeon. Vaporeon currently sees almost no usage in OU since it's outclassed by Alomomola. When it is used, though, it fulfills a very similar role. It's a physically defensive water-type wall and a pivot using Flip Turn. Flip Turn, however, can be blocked by Ogerpon Wellspring and Clodsire. Baton Pass would give it a completely safe way to pivot out. On top of that, Vaporeon has Aqua Ring. Aqua Ring is a move that, once used, will heal the user 1/16 of its health every turn until it switches out. Basically, it's a move that gives you leftovers. This can be baton passed, so Vaporeon could transfer the Aqua Ring to something else. This could be very potent with sweepers like Swords Dance Gliscor, which would now heal 18.75% each turn, and lots of other bulky setup sweepers would appreciate this. Baton Pass would also be great for healing up teammates with Wish. Vaporeon is pretty solid at doing this, with 130 base HP. The problem with Vaporeon, and the reason it's at the bottom of this list, is that even after a Baton Pass unban, Vaporeon is hopelessly outclassed by Alomomola. It does have Water Absorb, which definitely has its uses, but generally Regenerator is far better. Next is another Wish Passer, Screamtail. Screamtail fills the role of a speedy defensive Wish Passer in OU. It'll run Wish, Protect, and then some combination of Encore, Thunderwave, Psychic Noise, and Dazzling Gleam. Screamtail currently has no pivoting moves at all, so it would definitely appreciate the addition of Baton Pass. With 115 base HP and Wish, Screamtail could also run the famous Wish plus Baton Pass combo, allowing it to safely transfer health to teammates. The main benefit of Baton Pass on Screamtail is that you can see if your opponent switches out. By clicking Baton Pass, you can position yourself better in the game, particularly if your opponent switches, but even if they stay in, at least you can pass into a Pokemon that has a good matchup against whatever's on the field. Now, this all sounds great, but there are a few reasons that Baton Pass wouldn't be a major help to Screamtail. The first is that it already has moves it really likes running. Psychic Noise, Thunderwave, and Encore are really good moves. Screamtail also has options like Stealth Rock, Roar, Perish Song, and Calm Mind. Its move pool is incredible, so most teams can find something they'll want more than Baton Pass. Furthermore, Screamtail's base 111 speed means that you'll frequently Baton Pass before your opponent moves, meaning Screamtail won't be able to safely pass the Wish. If you're going to have to take a hit with the Pokemon you Wish Pass into, Baton Passing isn't much better than just switching. Still, it would allow Screamtail to scout the opponent switching, and it still would give it another strong option, increasing its viability in OU. Next up is another Fairy-type Wish Passer, Florges. This one you may not be familiar with, as it currently has no role at all in OU. Florges is used for Calm Mind setup and Wish Passing in lower tiers, but Baton Pass might be enough to give it a role in OU. It has a mediocre 78 base HP, but an incredible 154 base special defense and a solid 112 special attack. It currently has no pivoting moves. Previously, Florges was infamous for having two abilities that are only helpful in double battles. Symbiosis is related to allies using items, and Flower Veil makes it so that grass types on the user's side can't have their stats lowered or status inflicted. But Florges isn't a grass type, so it was useless in singles, until Generation 9, where Terra can turn Florges into a grass type, and make itself immune to status. It won't heal status that's already inflicted, but this is still a pretty cool buff. On top of that, Florges has some actually solid roles in the current metagame. It's bulky enough to comfortably switch into Choice Specs Kyurem, it enters on Booster Energy Raging Bolt using Calm Mind and wins if Florges is running Calm Mind as well, it takes Darkrai Sludge Bomb like a champ, destroys Iron Valiant, and easily handles Zamazenta. The problem is that Florges is very easy to switch into, and too passive. It can be taken advantage of by Pokemon like Galarian Slowking, Corviknight, Goldengo, Iron Crown, Moltres, Pecharunt, and tons of other Pokemon that Florges can't do any real damage to. Until Baton Pass. Baton Pass allows Florges to pivot out on these Pokemon without having to make a hard read, which makes Florges a much less passive Pokemon. This, combined with its defensive utility, might make it worth using in OU. The problem is that Florges has a terrible base 68 defense, and its 78 base HP is really not ideal for a Wish Passer. To be completely honest, I don't think Baton Pass is enough for Florges to see real usage in OU, but it's close, and I might be wrong. Next, we have Clefable. Currently, Clefable is used in OU as a Calm Mind sweeper and a hazard setter. It runs Moonlight, Moonblast, and then Knock Off, Stealth Rock, or Thunder Wave. In Generation 8, Clefable was used as a pivot with Teleport, making it a potent Wish Passer. Baton Pass would allow Clefable to function similarly in SVOU, the most likely set being Wish, Protect, Baton Pass, and Moonblast. If it was great in Generation 8, why not now? Well, there are quite a few reasons. In Generation 8, the metagame was much slower paced than it is now. Hyper Offense was considered a pretty bad archetype, and Balance was very popular. In these slower, bulkier metagames, a Wish-passing Clefable has more time to pass a Wish. In Scarlet and Violet, the metagame is much more offensive, and Clefable has already been feeling the consequences of its poor base stats. It takes 3 turns to bring Clefable in, use Wish, and Baton Pass out. It's difficult to find 3 turns when you've got Pokemon like Ogerpon Wellspring, Raging Bolt, Darkrai, and Goldengo running around. Furthermore, can Clefable really afford to take a hit as it Baton passes out? In Generation 8, sure, but with the higher power level of Gen 9, I doubt it would work nearly as well. I don't think that Wish passing Clefable with Baton Pass would get significant usage, but it would be a cool option for the few teams that use it well. Next up, one of the most popular Pokemon of all time, Umbreon. Umbreon is my personal favorite evolution, and I actually managed to hit rank 1 with it back in Generation 8. In Generation 9, though, Umbreon has had a bit of a rough time. It lost Heal Bell, and didn't gain anything to help it withstand the power creep. Umbreon gets no significant usage in OU, but when it is used, it's a physical or special wall, and a Wish Passer. It runs Wish, Protect, Foul Play, and then Thunder Wave, Toxic, or Roar. Its ability Synchronize is very useful for punishing status spreaders, but Inner Focus can be used as well to avoid Kingambit's Iron Head flinches. Umbreon currently has no pivoting move. Baton Pass would allow it to more safely pass wishes to teammates. Umbreon also has a fairly low base 65 speed, so it would be able to slowly Wish Pass to teammates, tanking a hit first before healing something else, avoiding the Screamtail dilemma. It would also make Umbreon a lot less passive and harder to switch into, since there's the threat of Umbreon Baton passing into a counter. Still, Toxic and Thunder Wave are pretty good moves, especially after Toxic distribution went down significantly in Gen 9. Many Umbreon wouldn't want to give up this slot for Baton Pass. Baton Pass would not be a total game changer for Umbreon, but it would give it another solid option. Probably not enough to make it see significant usage in OU, but a buff is a buff. Next up is Ninetales. At the time of making this video, Ninetales and Torkoal are exactly tied for popularity as Sunsetters in OU, both at 3.47% usage. Torkoal is bulkier and has removal with Rapid Spin, as well as hazard setting with Stealth Rock. Ninetales, though, has access to a speedy Encore as well as Healing Wish. Both lack any switching moves. Currently, Ninetales uses Healing Wish, Encore, Will-O-Wisp, and Weather Ball. Baton Pass would give Ninetales a pivoting move and perhaps give it the edge in this war of weather setters. I believe that a significant amount of Ninetales would drop either Encore or Will-O-Wisp for Baton Pass. Being able to see if your opponent switches, and if so, what your opponent switches into, would be a major win for Sun teams. Now we're into the top 3. These are the Pokemon that I think would become significantly better, and become actually prominent Pokemon, or more prominent in OU if they're good already, as a result of unbanning Baton Pass. At number 3, we have Sylveon. Sylveon currently has 2 roles in OU, and neither see much usage. Choice Specs breaking sets and Witch Protect variants. Baton Pass, of course, wouldn't do anything for the Choice Spec sets, but it would be a huge buff to the Wish variants. They currently run Wish, Protect, Hyper Voice, and either Calm Mind, Quick Attack, Roar, or Shadow Ball for the last slot. That last slot could become Baton Pass, and I'd say that would be the best set. This is very similar to the Clefable set we discussed earlier, but where Clefable doesn't have the stats to pull it off, I think Sylveon does. Sylveon has much better special bulk than Clefable and higher special attack, especially when paired with Pixelate Hyper Voice, which is both stronger than Moonblast and bypasses Substitute. I hit rank 1 with Sylveon fairly recently in SVOU, and I know this Pokemon has real potential. Calm Mind would still be a solid option, but Baton Pass would make Sylveon less passive, and make it a really solid Wish Passer. Coming in at number 2, we have Hatterene. Hatterene is a popular choice on Sun teams, but it has uses in many other archetypes as well. The two most common sets are Calm Mind and Support. Calm Mind sets use leftovers and will run Calm Mind, Draining Kiss, and then some combination of Nuzzle, Psyshock, Stored Power, and Mystical Fire. Support sets are often equipped with an eject button and will run Nuzzle, Healing Wish, and then Stabs and or Mystical Fire. Calm Mind sets, of course, wouldn't be allowed to use Baton Pass in this scenario, but the support sets would absolutely love it. Hatterene has long suffered from the lack of a pivoting move. Its ability, Magic Bounce, is rightfully considered by many to be the best ability in the game. You can use Hatterene to switch into hazard setters and bounce the hazards right back. But what do you do once you're in? Hatterene's 136 base special attack is very impressive, but its poor defenses force it to invest all of its EVs in bulk, and it typically doesn't use any high base power moves. Therefore, it's pretty easy for a lot of hazard setters to just overpower Hatterene and keep hitting it, easily beating it on switch-in, and Hatterene users are forced to decide whether to let Hatterene be KO'd to ensure that hazards don't go up, or try and switch out, preserving Hatterene's life but risking hazards being set on the switch. Baton Pass would fix this problem. Hatterene's base 29 speed would give it the slowest pivoting move in all of OU, moving even after Galarian Slowking. It would be able to underspeed everything, bounce back hazards if they're set, and then safely pivot into a Pokemon that can threaten the hazard setter with a KO. Baton Pass would be an absolutely massive buff to support sets on Hatterene, and given the hazard situation in SVOU, I'd say this buff would be a very welcome change for the metagame. As great as Hatterene would be with Baton Pass though, there's one Pokemon that would benefit a little bit more. The number 1 Pokemon buffed if Baton Pass were unbanned is Alomomola. Currently, Alomomola is a staple on bulkier teams. The two main sets are Defensive Wish Passing and Assault Vest. Alomomola is an incredible regenerator pivot, but it has one major weakness: Ogerpon Wellspring. Wellspring has Water Absorb, meaning it can block Alomomola's pivoting move, Flip Turn. To make matters worse, Ogerpon Wellspring is a nearly unwallable breaker, so letting it in for free is an absolute catastrophe. Baton Pass gives Alomomola a completely safe way to exit the field, and pass Wish to team members with its incredible base 165 HP. That alone is a big buff, but I strongly suspect that unbanning Baton Pass would give Alomomola a new role on more offensive teams. Alomomola would be great at using Substitute and Baton Pass. It's very slow and very bulky, so it's not inconceivable that Alomomola could take a hit, set up a Substitute, allow that Substitute to take a hit without breaking, and then Baton Pass into a sweeper that now gets an extra turn of setup, thanks to that Substitute. This is basically a much less broken version of Shedtail, but a less broken version of Shedtail is still really, really good, since Shedtail was insane. That's not all though. Remember how I said that Vaporeon can pass Aqua Ring? Well, Alomomola also gets Aqua Ring. So, Alomomola could potentially Baton Pass both a Substitute and an Aqua Ring to some breaker or sweeper. This could be a very interesting strategy and give Alomomola a completely new role. Alomomola Hyper Offense may even become its own sub-archetype. Well, that's my overview of what would happen if a restricted version of Baton Pass were unbanned in OU. Let me know in the comments if you'd like to see this form of Baton Pass unbanned and why or why not. Also, if you enjoyed the video, please subscribe and leave a like. I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you next time.